So you're talking about 20. I spent $20,000 is what I gave him.
Wow, that's great.
When I got divorced in the United States, we couldn't come up with a solution for the house. And I made a solemn oath to myself that day that I was going to build me a house. I didn't know when, I didn't know where, I didn't know how. Then no one would ever be able to take from me. Yeah, we hired an engineer, and I would suggest anybody that's even thinking about building a house over here to hire an engineer, because you're going to get what you pay for. You can hire a local crew, but I guarantee you they're going to go over budget like they did on my guest house.
So in this video today, we're going to answer the question, what does it cost to build a house in the Philippines? And we are delighted to have a friend of ours. You've seen him in our videos before. He has his own YouTube channel. His channel's name is Sunshine Shoulders. And it's great to have, he's built his own house, and he's going to tell us a story. Calvin, welcome back to Vagabond Awake.
Hey, thanks, Dan. I appreciate it, man. It's an honor anytime to be on your show.
Well, it's an honor for us too, Calvin. And so, just a reminder for you guys, and I'll put a link to one of his earlier videos below when he wasn't quite so famous. He's famous now, of course, on YouTube. But he's from America, and he moved over here. I'll let him tell you a little bit of that story, and then we'll dig into this house he just built. Calvin, so you're from America, and when did you come over?
Well, I came over December the 5th, 2018 for good. Dan, I left the rat race and jumped off the hamster wheel December the 5th, 2018. I've been coming over here on and off since 2009, but nice. I'm here for good. Yeah.
Great choice, Calvin. So you built a house in the Philippines, is that right?
I did, yeah. I built the house, yeah.
Okay, and I'll show some of the pictures you sent over. You know, I'll put them over this. But how big a house? Like how many bedrooms and baths? That kind of thing.
I've got in the main house. We've got 2 bedrooms and 1 bath, and you know you got the living room and dining room connected together. It's about 650 square feet, but it looks a lot bigger, and you know that's pretty big in the Philippines. And then I've since built a guest house for my subscribers. It's about the size of a typical hotel room with, you know, with all the amenities of a hotel room. And it's one, you know, basically 1 room, a studio, and a bath.
Wow, that's great. And so that's great that you built a place for your subscribers to come visit. That's definitely great. And so, did you build your house right away, or did it take some time for you to think about when to do it? How did you go through that mental process?
Yeah, it took some time, but once I realized somewhere around 2014, when I put together my plan to escape the rat race, I always had the dream of building a house over here. I knew it wasn't going to be so expensive. I didn't want anything extravagant, even though Rock Engineering really did just an unbelievable job on that. That's when I decided. I didn't know where, I didn't know when, but I came here in 2018. I had the money to build the house that I have now, but we put it on hold.
Yeah. So, and did you put it on hold because you wanted to make sure that you'd be staying in the Philippines, or what were the circumstances when you finally pulled the trigger?
No, well, I actually put it on hold. I was going to build it on my wife's land, and we separated after 8.5 years. So, you know, I decided to build somewhere else.
Okay.
So, you know, we was going to build on her land, which, you know, over here, what most foreigners don't realize, we can't actually own the land. So we enter in what people call the sugar contract over here. You put everything in the Filipinos' name, because that's your honey, that's your sweetie, that's your sugar, you know, so that's what they call it. And that's what I did. But we have a daughter, see, and I built it for her and our daughter so that they could always have a place to stay. It's sort of like my insurance contract, insurance policy to them. I've got one for my children in America, but this is like their insurance policy. It's just something I wanted to do.
So your main motivation, it sounds like, was taking care of your family.
Absolutely. Yeah. My daughter, it's very important over here. Dan, you've been here long enough. It's important to have a roof over your head anywhere, but especially in a place like the Philippines, where it's really hard to come by. She would have never, ever in her wildest dreams been able to build a house unless she hit the lottery or something.
And by the way, that your comment about the size of it, that's about the size I would build too. I think as you get into your twilight years, you don't want some big, crazy place that you have to heat and air condition and clean and repair. And no, you just want a real
Right.
simple, easygoing life. So that's exactly what I would do, just like the one you built in the pictures. And it's a good looking place. So you mentioned that you put the house in your wife's name. And then also your daughter's name, or just your wife's name, because you know she'll hand it on. I'm sorry, I don't know if it's a daughter or son, but
Yes, it's my daughter. It's my
oh,
daughter, but it's just in her name for right now because the child is so small. You know,
okay,
we can always change that once my daughter gets a certain age. But even if it was in her name, she wouldn't have any type of, the mother's gonna be over it anyhow.
yeah.
She's 2 years old right now, but I would have never built it if I didn't trust the lady. I mean, I just know how she is. She's not going to mistreat my daughter to get back at me or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. So, so did you draw up your own plans, or did you go to an architect, or how did you take that, handle that part of it?
Yeah, we hired an engineer, and I would suggest anybody that's even thinking about building a house over here to hire an engineer because you're going to get what you pay for. You can hire a local crew, but I guarantee you they're going to go over budget like they did on my guest house. See, so we hired Rock Engineering right in San Carlos City, Negros Occidental. He did everything. I mean, we were actually his first client for his private business. He's an engineer for the government for 20 something years, but he started his own business. And I told him, I said, look, I'm going to document all this on my channel. So, the better you do for us, the better it's going to be for you. And he's gotten 6 new builds just off my channel.
So let's talk a little bit about, so you bought the land, and then once you had the land, did you do the design first? How did you go about that?
Yeah, it was the land, and then we hired the engineer. So we bought the land in April, May, June, July. See, because I talk about the Filipino mortgage after a while, but yeah, we got the land first. Then about 3 months later, after I saved some money to put down, we hired the engineer.
And then did the engineer hire the contractor, or did the engineer act as a contractor? How did that work?
Yeah. Over here, they call the engineer, but he's a contractor. But what we call the contractor, they call the engineer over here.
So what did it cost to buy the land, if you're comfortable, and to build the house roughly?
Yeah. Altogether, it was 1 million pesos. Altogether.
Wow, divided by 50.
At the time, it was like 50 pesos to the dollar, maybe a little bit less. So you're talking about 20. I spent $20,000 is what I gave him.
Wow, that's great. 20 grand.
Yeah, but that's a lot of money over here. That's a lot of money over here.
I agree, but remember your audience, Calvin, they're looking at that number going, what the?
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't even buy the lot for that in the US. The lot probably would be twice that or 3 times that, depending where you are.
Yeah, so pretty big that lot too.
And so how close was the build time to what the engineer said? Was it pretty close?
Right on the money. It was right on the money. He said 90 days, and exactly 90 days.
Wow, he banged the whole thing out in 90 days.
Yeah. Yeah, because he knew, I kind of put some pressure on him because I was documenting every single day.
Yeah. That's
and
great.
He did it, and we were very fortunate. I'm 8,000 miles from home, Dan. He could have took my money and ran off with it. There's nothing I would have been able to do. But this guy was honest. I mean, he's a younger guy, maybe in his early 40s, and he did a spectacular job. Because I'm gonna tell you, just based on, I've been over here a long time. I think in my money, I'm gonna get a little bitty place, which would have been okay for me. But the house, you see the house, I sent you the picture. You haven't seen the inside of it. He took hollow blocks and cement. That house is 95% hollow blocks and cement, and made a masterpiece out of it. And his boss asked him, the first thing his boss asked him was, did you turn a profit on this? And I'm sure he did. So, it really cost less than $1 million pesos.
Wow, that's amazing. Forgive me, once in a while I'm going to look to the right here to make sure I cover all the questions we talked about.
Yeah, that's okay.
So how close were you to the original estimate for the house build?
Everything. We sat down with him, but see over here, it's like a class system, really. My girlfriend was afraid to even talk to him. She's got a college degree. She's a bookkeeper, but because he's an engineer, she's afraid to even ask him questions. I said, look, he works for us. And I sat him down. I said, look, this is what I got. I can't go 1 peso over that. And he said, okay. So we drew up the plans, because he had drew up plans for 40,000 pesos. I was like, nah, it's too much. I'm not trying to spend that kind of money. I said, here's what I can come up with in that 90-day window. And so we drew the plans up, and he came up with that. And he didn't go not 1 penny over. And that's why I say go with the engineer, because his profit's on the line.
Right. Good. And so, but then you strayed from the reservation when you built the house next door, the guest house. What was that like? What was that experience like? Did they hit the time? Did they hit the money? What did that go like?
Well, no, they went over because, see, her brother is a supervisor in the construction business. He does, the engineer, he hires the crew, right? And then he has a lead guy. Well, her brother is the lead guy, but not for the engineer. So the engineer is just a favor. He did us a favor because of the favor we did for him getting all the business. He drew up the plans, the floor plans, the perspective, and everything for free. We just handed it to her brother, which he did a fabulous job if you ever see it. But he went over because he's not an engineer. He doesn't know anything about budgets. So we went a little bit over, and it took almost the same amount of time to build the guest house as it did the main house, but he didn't have a full crew. It was only him and 2 guys.
About what did that cost to build, and how much did it go over?
That was about $5,000.
All right, good. So so there's 2 experiences. Take your engineering advice, get the time you need to get the money you need, or go the other route, let's say, and it's not guaranteed. It's roughly is the main idea.
You'll save some money. It'll be cheaper, but you're gonna get what you pay for.
Right. Now, did you do any of the work yourself, or you just didn't lift
I'm an insurance agent, Dan. I work with this. I don't know how to. I couldn't thread a needle if my life depended on it.
I bet you could thread a needle, Calvin, but I get your point. So in terms of a cash investment, if you look at it, you spent 20. What's the turnaround time on what you were paying rent before you'd have all your money back plus have a free house?
Well, because rent is so cheap here. Let's see. Let's say I was spending $200 per month. So you're talking about a 10-year turnaround. But like I said, you can't put a price on having a roof over your head over here. You don't have the landlord. See, a lot of times the landlords over here, they don't want to fix anything. You got to vet the landlords over here. So
10 years is a great turnaround time, especially since God willing, you're going to live longer than that, Calvin. But it's going to be sitting there for as long as your family needs it. And if they ever decide to sell it and move or what, it's an asset that's going to grow over the years. So 10 years is a great period of return. You can't imagine, you know, just think of it like in the U.S. 1,000. If somebody's paying 1,000 in rent, 1 year would be
Hmm.
12,000. So 10 years would be 120,000. They're probably not going to be able to buy a house for that. It'd probably be two, three times that. So you're buying it for like, it's paid off, no interest. So
Right.
that's personally, I think that's a good investment. So what are some of the lessons you learned? Anything you would do different, like the pros and cons of owning versus renting, and also what would you do different if you were to do it again, or what sort of advice do you have for people?
Yeah, I'm
Colin's
not a
not a
lawyer,
lawyer here.
anything like this.
This is just a man telling his story. That's what this is. It's not advice. So go ahead.
Right. I wouldn't invest any more that I'm not willing to walk away from. Because remember, you can't own land over here under normal circumstances. Now,
Right.
you can get a lawyer over here and do a corporation, or you can lease land and all that kind of stuff. But the house, actually, you can't take that with you. That would be one thing. I wouldn't have did anything differently because it can't. I had a budget. It was right on budget, right on time. Now I would have had that. See, I had a wall built around the property too. I would have had the engineer do my guest house and my wall because on both of those I went over. But if you're seeing, it just depends on your situation, Dan. If you got skins in the game, see, I've got a child here, see, so that's what made it a lot easier for me. If I were by myself or we were just me and her, I would just rent. What's the big deal? It just, we've been together for years now. So it's just a way to say, to give her something when I'm no longer around. And
Yeah.
that's why I did it. I mean, it's a big, big deal over here, Like I said, 1,000,000 pesos to be able to come up with 1,000,000 pesos at one time for just her being the average Filipino making about 7,000 pesos every month, which it was all spent, no savings. It would be the equivalent of me trying to come up with 1 million US dollars in America. The same degree of difficulty.
Right.
Okay. So it just to give you an idea. So
Yeah.
now she said the property here always goes up, it never goes down. It never goes down. So the house that we built in October, it'll be 1 year. It's probably doubled in value. And you think I'm joking, but I'm sure it has.
Oh yeah, 40 grand finished.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, yeah, I mean, there's profit on the day, that it's done. It's the fact that the cost to create it is almost never exceeding what the property's worth, even on the day it's done. A year later, of course, you can have some appreciation. Yeah, that's a great point. So it sounds like you feel like it was a good decision overall. You don't really have any regrets or second thoughts at all.
When I got divorced in the United States, we couldn't come up with a solution for the house. And I made a solemn oath to myself that day that I was going to build me a house. I didn't know when, I didn't know where, I didn't know how. Then no one would ever be able to take from me.
Right.
And it's just a peace of mind you get, man. Because so many nights, Dan, I'd wake up with a cold sweat. Like, how am I going to pay for this over 30 years? I'm a successful insurance agent. But just that 30 years, it's like a death sentence to me. So to be able to come over here and have it free and clear, we pay 1,700 pesos every year property taxes. That's about $30 right now with the peso being what it is. And that's it.
That's amazing.
That was really, yeah.
And so, great point. You have tax. Have you opted to get insurance or no? What are your thoughts on that for the house?
Well, we haven't looked into that yet. I built it with the Filipino mortgage. That means you pay as you go. I coined that term, by the way.
Okay.
Filipino mortgage, because that's how the typical Filipino over here builds his house. A lot of people, unless you work for the government, something like that, you can't really get a loan. So they just pay like what I did. I had 6,000 saved up. I gave him that. Then by the time they used that up, I gave him another 6 until, in 3 months, I gave him 20,000. I called that the Filipino mortgage. And really haven't looked into in the homeowners insurance yet. I know it sounds crazy, but remember, we're in the Philippines. We're not in America.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. We bring our thinking over here. And it's like, well, you're crazy not to have homeowners insurance over there.
Right, right.
But over here, rather, I mean.
650 square feet. So what's like your electricity and water? What is it running you a month other than now you have no rent?
Right. My water bill is about $7 every month.
Right.
And right now, okay, this month my electric bill was $6,800 because we have two split air conditioned units that we run 24 hours a day because of our daughter.
Right.
So that's about, let's just say that's about $110 every month.
Right, right.
So we're looking at about $120 per month for the utilities.
So Calvin, I mentioned earlier that you have a channel called Sunshine Shoulders on YouTube, and that you put out content. Tell us about how often do you do a video and what kind of information do you cover on your channel? I know personally, but for anybody who hasn't met you yet.
Well, I do a video every day, and my channel is essentially for new people, men and women, who've never been to the Philippines before, but who has an interest in coming here. So I give them my boots on the ground experience. That's what I call it. The nitty gritty, which is just what I'm seeing, what I'm living, and what I'm experiencing. I don't sugarcoat it. I'm not a travel channel, really. Although sometimes I'll go somewhere and make a video like 𝗙𝐿𝐴 Island or Boracay or something like that. But I just tell people what to really expect when they get here. Things like, even though Filipinos, a vast majority of them speak English, when you get here, they're going to speak their language 98% of the time.
Sure.
I say something like, just make sure you respect the people and the culture, which you would think is common sense, but it's really not, because we come over here and we look down on people. Americans, I can only speak for America.
Yeah. We're
arrogant, and we come over here, we think that everything works the same here as it does in America and all that. So I just tell them, they ask me, oh, is it safe? Well, it's safe for me. I don't know you. I don't know who you hang around with. I don't know the places you go, and all of that. But it's safe for me, and just things like that, Dan, the cost of living. Like, I'm going to do a video on this Airbnb because I try to give them some when you refer places, because a lot of times you come here, you don't know where to go or where the best deals are. This is a great deal here. Heidi's Cabin in 𝗵𝐵𝐺𝐻. It's $23 for the top floor, $21 on the bottom. It's just like a big 1-bedroom apartment. It's real modern. It's real nice. Just things like that, Dan.
And do you stay there?
Relationship.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, relationships. Great point.
Yeah, because people want to hear about that for some reason. So, it's a popular. They think Filipinos are from outer space, but they're not. They're women, but they want to hear that. But you got to give them what you give your subscribers what they want. You just got to give them what they want. But that's basically my time.
Yeah. Well, Calvin, it's great seeing you again. I want to thank you again for coming on the channel and sharing your experience buying a house. It's an amazing story, and I hope it helps other people make that decision. And so, one way or the other. And so, hope to see you before too long. We're wandering around the Philippines. We'll try to stop in and see you when we get to your neck of the woods. So. Look forward to seeing you.
Come on and stay at the guest house, man. It's nice. Everybody that's ever stayed there, they said, man, this is better than the hotel, the Airbnb I stayed.
We'll take you up on that. That would be fun.
I just wanted to take time out to thank you, Dan. Dan was the first one who interviewed me, and he kind of, believe it or not, had a lot to do with me starting the channel, because it was during the lockdown. Philippines had one of the most strictest lockdowns, and I was just bored. And I did an interview with him. He said, man, people really, were interested in what you had to say. So I just started talking to the camera. It's extremely hard, though, Dan, right? People
to start. I would
Yeah,
say you're a pro. You're a pro now, Calvin. But to start,
yeah.
it's a little hard.
No, I mean to actually get on the landscape and the radar,
Yeah.
because everybody thinks,
Oh.
yeah, they think that they're putting you down when they say, "Oh, these guys come over here and start those YouTube channels because they don't have money," but they don't realize how difficult it is to get monetized and stay monetized and build a following. So their put down is really a compliment.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank you and anybody out there that has anything to do with my channel's growth. I mean, I don't take it for granted because it's extremely difficult.
Yeah, and in addition to go over to Calvin's channel and checking it out, I'll put a link below and I'll put a link here on the video. But definitely go watch his first video. You can see his transformation. He really had the character for this ability even back then. You can sense it in the video. So Calvin, thanks again for everything, and I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, let me say one more thing that I forgot. And see, I actually have a Facebook page. It's dedicated solely to helping Filipinos during the pandemic. It's out of my pocket. I don't ask for donations. I don't do any of that, what the trolls and haters say I do. I don't. That's how I started this channel. I said I was going to dedicate 1,000 pesos out of my pocket every week. So I created a spin wheel. And now that spin wheel probably has 20,000 people on it. And we not only do we do a spin wheel every Friday, but every Wednesday I do an electronic community pantry giveaway. We give 2 residents in San Carlos City 1,200 pesos worth of groceries every Wednesday. It's like, you know, the community pantry became real popular during the lockdown. We just call it the electronic community pantry because it's a spin wheel.
How do they find that
every single week?
How do people find that Facebook page?
Well, what I do is I tell them, it's only for my Filipino subscribers. I just tell them I make a game out of it because I can't just give the money away, or it would be like a charity, and I can't do that. So I tell them, subscribe to my channel and screenshot it to me at my Sunshine Show's Facebook page, and I'll put your name in the wheel. And so we've given away since August of 2020, which is when I started, which this week will be 2 years for me. We've given them, I stopped counting when we went over 1 million pesos. We're way over that. And this is out of my pocket. Yeah, it's out of my pocket. I promise. Yeah.
Nice work, Calvin. And keep up the good work. And thanks so much for sharing your experience about buying a house and taking care of your family with that.
Well, thank you, Dan. Again, I hope to see you around, man. It's funny that you've been over here so many times. I've been over here all these years. I've never run into you.
We'll be wandering south eventually. I don't have a date yet, but I'll bug you offline when we're getting close. So to try to sneak into your guest house there. That'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Okay, Dan, thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care, Calvin.
Okay, take care.
Have a great day.
Hey, if you liked our video, please like, comment, or subscribe. Any of that would help our business. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Click the link in the notes below this video to get a copy of this content. Plus, grab a free copy of my ebook, How I Fired My Boss and Traveled the World for 13 Years. While you're there, check out our catalog of retired cheap reports all over the world and our hobby income course that we just released. Thanks so much.